There is a bottle under my kitchen sink that costs me about $1, maybe two. And once a month, on a Sunday, I pour a little of it down every drain in my house, every sink, the tub, the shower, the kitchen. Takes me about 10 minutes, start to finish. And in more years than I want to admit to out loud, I have not paid one single plumber to come clean a drain in my own home. Not once. No snake, no jetting, no bottle of that blue poison they sell you down at the hardware store. Now, before you run off and grab a bottle, you need to hear something first. Because there is one job everybody thinks this stuff does that it flat out cannot do. And if you get that part wrong, you can turn a $2 habit into a flooded kitchen that costs you thousands. There's also one thing, exactly one, that you can never let this bottle touch. Get that wrong, and you're not looking at a plumbing bill. You're looking at a trip to the emergency room. I'm going to show you both before we're done. So stick with me all the way to the end. Let me back up and tell you how I even landed on this. Years ago, I got called out to an old house, kitchen sink draining slow, nothing dramatic. I ended up pulling a section of the kitchen line out from under the floor, and I cut it open on the tailgate of my truck. And the inside of that pipe was not a pipe anymore. The hole down the middle was maybe the size of a pencil. The rest of it was this black, greasy, living gunk, packed on the walls a quarter-inch thick. That homeowner had been paying somebody to snake that line twice a year for a decade, and nobody ever cleaned the wall. Do that math with me for a second because it stuck with me. 2 snake calls a year, call it $200 each for 10 years. That's $4,000. $4,000. And the pipe was in worse shape at the end of it than the day they started because every one of those visits just bored a hole through the plug and left the walls exactly as caked as they found them. That homeowner didn't have a clog problem. They had a wall problem. And nobody ever sold them the answer because the answer costs $1, and you can do it yourself in your bathrobe. That's the day I started pouring peroxide down my own drains. And I have not looked back. So let's talk about what that gunk actually is. Because once you understand it, the fix makes all the sense in the world. That coating has a name. It's called a biofilm. And all a biofilm is a living layer of slime. It's bacteria, grease, soap scum, little bits of food, all glued together into a coating on the inside wall of your pipe. It is alive, it is growing, and it never takes a day off. Think about plaque building up in an artery. Thin layer at first, you don't feel a thing, but it keeps stacking year after year until the opening that used to be wide is down to the size of a straw. Your drain line does the exact same thing. The day it finally clogs, it feels like it happened overnight. It didn't. It's been closing for years. And that pink or orange ring you sometimes see right at the mouth of a drain or creeping up the corner of the shower. That is not rust. That's a bacteria called Serratia. It feeds on the soap and the skin oil you rinse off every single day. It's the same stuff that makes an old drain smell like something died down there. The smell isn't the pipe. The smell is the colony. So here's the fix. And it's almost stupid how simple it is. The bottle is 3% hydrogen peroxide. That's the standard concentration, the brown bottle, the one that's been in the medicine cabinet since you were a kid. About $1, maybe $2. Peroxide is what they call an oxidizer. All that word means is that it tears the gunk apart at a chemical level and turns it into two completely harmless things: water and oxygen. That fizzing sound you'll hear when it hits the drain, that's not a gimmick. That's the reaction happening. That's the oxygen lifting off as the slime gets eaten right off the wall. Here's exactly how I do it. About a cup per drain. Pour it straight down, slow. Then you walk away, and you leave it alone for at least 15 minutes. Give it half an hour if the drain's really funky. The peroxide needs that time to sit against the wall and work. Then you come back and flush it through with hot water straight from the tap. Not boiling. Just hot tap water. And that's the whole job. Now, why do I keep saying hot tap water and not boiling? Because you'll see 100 videos online telling you to dump a kettle of boiling water down the drain. In an old house, I don't love that. Boiling water can stress old joints, and if it goes into a toilet or a porcelain fixture, it can crack the china. That's a real thing, not an old wives' tale. Hot tap water is plenty to carry the loosened gunk away, and it won't put a hairline crack in a fixture that was fine yesterday. So keep the kettle for your tea. And here's what to expect the first time, especially on a drain you've been ignoring for years. It might fizz up a good bit. You might hear it crackling. You might even see a little foam come back up at the top. Don't panic. That's not something going wrong. That's just a lot of built-up gunk getting eaten all at once, and it means the stuff is doing exactly what it's supposed to. On a drain you keep up with every month, you'll barely notice anything because there's never much left down there for it to work on. The quiet pour is the sign you're winning. At 3%, this does no lasting harm to your pipe. None. It's gentler on an old cast iron or galvanized line than bleaches, and a lot gentler than the caustic stuff in a store-bought drain cleaner. It cleans the wall, and then it turns back into water. That's the beauty of it. Quick word before we keep going. I put together a book called 100 Old House Fixes That Save You Thousands. It's full of small moves like this one, the kind that keep you from ever making that overpriced service call, plus a season-by-season maintenance calendar so you know what to check and when. Links in the description, and there's a code on screen you can scan. Back to it. Now, doing this one time is nice. Doing it on a schedule is where the money is. I do every drain in the house about once a month, and the reason is that biofilm regrows on a clock. It doesn't matter how clean you got it. Keep running soap and grease and skin oil down that pipe, and the colony starts rebuilding almost immediately. Miss it for a few months, and it's right back stacking on the wall. So the once-a-month pour isn't about cleaning a dirty drain. It's about never letting the drain get dirty enough to clog in the first place. And this is where the dollars come in. Let me lay it out next to each other for you. A snake, a basic rooter call to punch through a clog, runs you somewhere between $150 and $350. The big national chains, the ones with the trucks you see on every corner, they'll quote $300, $400, sometimes more, on a single drain before they even open their toolbox. Grease that's gone hard on you is a whole different animal. Now they're talking hydrojetting, which is blasting the line clean with high-pressure water. Figure $350 on the low end and up past $900 for a bad one. But here's the part. Almost nobody adds up. Say the same drain keeps backing up, so you keep calling for a snake. 3 visits in a year, $200 a pop. That's $600 gone. and your pipe is still coated on the inside, still narrowing, because a snake just pokes a hole through the middle of the clog. It never touches the wall. You're paying $600 a year to stay exactly where you started. Now think about the drain cleaner in the bright bottle. 5, 10, 15 bucks. Feels cheap. But it doesn't clean anything out. It softens the clog just enough to limp the water through for a week, and then it comes right back. And in an old house with cast iron or galvanized steel pipe, that caustic stuff is eating your pipe from the inside the whole time it sits there. You're not fixing a thing. You're renting a few days and doing damage on the way. Against all of that, my fix costs about $1, maybe $2, once a month. And look, I'll be straight with you about why you don't hear this from the trade more often. It's not some big conspiracy. There's just no money in a drain that never clogs. Nobody builds a business around handing you a $1 bottle and telling you you'll never need them again. That's not villainy. That's just how a business stays a business. But it does mean the cheapest fix in the whole trade is the one you are least likely to ever have somebody tell you about. All right, a few habits that make this work even better, because the pour is the main event, but it's not the only thing. First, help the pipe out at the top. Get a little basket strainer for every drain and empty it in the trash. And keep grease out of the sink. Period. Here's why grease is such a killer. It goes down warm and liquid, looking completely innocent. Then it hits the cooler pipe further down, and it sets up hard, like wax running down the side of a candle and hardening onto the holder. Pour a jar of bacon grease down your sink and you didn't send it to the sewer. You just installed it in your pipe. Let it cool in a can and throw the can away. Second, store the bottle right. Peroxide breaks down when light hits it. That's the whole reason it comes in that brown bottle instead of a clear one. Keep it in the cabinet, in the dark, and buy the smaller size if you're only doing this once a month, so it's not sitting around for 2 years, slowly turning into plain water. And if you don't want to do every single drain every single month, here's how I'd rank them for you. The kitchen sink is the one that matters most, hands down. That's your grease drain, that's your food drain, that's the one that builds a hard coating faster than anything else in the house. If you only ever treat one drain, treat that one. After that, the bathroom sink, because that's soap scum and toothpaste and hair oil, and that's where a lot of the smell comes from. Then your tub and shower. The laundry drain and any floor drains. Those you can hit a few times a year and be fine. So if a full house pour once a month feels like a lot, just do the kitchen every month and catch the rest when you think of it. You'll still be miles ahead of where you'd be doing nothing. Now let's run through the common stuff people ask me about, because you're going to hit a couple of these. The first one is smell. You walk into the kitchen or the bathroom and there's a musty, sour, something dyed smell, and you can't find the source. 9 times out of 10, it's the drain. It's that colony we talked about. And this is where Peroxide gives you a free bonus. That same cup you pour to clean the wall also kills the bacteria that's making the stink. No fancy deodorizer, no plug-in, no perfume covering it up. You're not masking the smell. You're removing the thing that makes it. The second one is the pink ring. Same answer. That's the Serratia. Pour the peroxide, let it sit, wipe the ring, flush it. It'll keep coming back a little because That bacteria lives in the air and the water everywhere, but the routine pour keeps it from ever getting a real grip. A couple of quick ones people always ask. If you've got a garbage disposal, yes, this works there too. And it's one of the best places to use it because a disposal is a smell factory. All that ground up food gunk cakes up under the splash guard and on the walls of the chamber. Pour your cup of peroxide in, let it sit, then run the cold water and flush it through. Kills the smell at the source instead of dropping a lemon in and pretending. And if you're on a septic system, you can breathe easy. A cup of 3% peroxide down a drain is not going to wreck your septic tank the way a jug of caustic drain cleaner will. Remember, it breaks down into water and oxygen. It's not sitting in your tank poisoning the good bacteria that a septic system actually needs to do its job. The harsh stuff does exactly that. This doesn't. Same goes if you're on a well. It's about the gentlest thing you can put down a drain and still get real cleaning out of it. And now here's the one you actually have to get right. So pay attention because this is the flip side of the whole thing. Peroxide cleans organic gunk. Slime, grease film, soap scum, the living stuff. That's its job and it's great at it. But it is not a battering ram. If your drain is dead stop because a kid dropped a toy down it, or somebody flushed a wad of wipes, or you've got tree roots in the line, peroxide will fizz away and do absolutely nothing while the water just sits there. Same story with hard mineral scale, that rock-hard, chalky buildup you get in hard water areas. Peroxide doesn't dissolve rock. That's a completely different problem that needs a snake or an auger, or in the scale case, an actual descaling product, not an oxidizer. So this is a job everybody thinks this bottle does, that it flat out cannot. It is a prevention tool. It is not a rescue tool. If you've already got a standing dead blockage and you keep dumping peroxide on it, praying it breaks through, all you're doing is losing the day that water actually needed to move. And a real backup, grease or a solid, that floods out onto your floor and into your cabinets and down into the subfloor. That is not $100 problem. That runs $2,000 on the low end, and a bad one can hit $10,000, even $15,000 once the water damage is done. So know the difference. Cheap habit to keep a drain clean. Wrong tool entirely for a drain that's already stopped. And while we're on when to stop, here's the plumber's line for you. If you've got gurgling coming up out of more than one fixture at the same time, or a sewage smell in the house, or water backing up into a tub when you run something else, stop. That's main line territory. And that's a pro's job, not a pour something down it job. Don't go dumping caustic cleaner after it either. Just call somebody, okay? The second thing I told you to wait for. The one thing you can never let this bottle touch. Never ever mix hydrogen peroxide with vinegar. Not in a bowl, not in a spray bottle. And for the love of everything, not down a drain or a closed trap. When you put those two together, you don't get a stronger cleaner. You get a completely different chemical called peracetic acid. That's an industrial sterilizer. It's corrosive. It burns skin, it burns eyes, and the fumes go straight after your lungs. And in a sealed up trap, that reaction keeps making gas and building pressure with nowhere to go. That's how a $2 cleaning turns into a chemical burn or a spray in the face. Same deal with bleach. Never mix peroxide and bleach. And never buy the strong salon or industrial peroxide for this. 3%. the plain brown bottle. That's all you ever want anywhere near your drains. Use them separate if you want. Peroxide today, done. That's the safe way, and the cheap way, and the only way I'll ever tell you to do it. That's the whole thing. If it saved you a headache, the book goes deeper. 100 old house fixes that save you thousands, teaches you to tell a real fix from a cheap patch, and to catch a small leak before it ruins a floor or a cabinet. Link and code are right below. Want more old house money savers like this one? Subscribe to Roger the Pipe Guy. I find them. You keep them. So here's the thing to sit with. The question was never really whether a bottle you can buy for $1 can keep your drains clean. It can. I've been proving it in my own house for years. The real question is why the cheapest tool in the whole trade is the one almost nobody ever bothers to tell you about. Well, now you know. Go use it.